So I leave it back to the organizers of the unconference, or the unorganizers maybe. Then. Well,
right.
really great to
Chris,
see you.
It's good seeing you. Hopefully I get to see Paulo too.
Yeah, he should be around somewhere. Oh, there he is. Come over, Paulo. I can't play the trick anymore, I guess. because he gave me some 2 sentences and to see if it triggers anything. I should have said something like, "I love this business."
Yeah.
And nobody tells me it don't fit.
Yeah. Those are great Paulo quotes.
Hey Ron, how's it going there? Wait a second,
Hey,
I have to squeeze down. Everything under control?
Everything's under control. We're riding like a circus pony.
All right, exactly. Okay, we have a lot of people here, very interesting to hear what you're going to tell us. And so I'll give back the mic to the organizer here, and I'll talk to you later. Ciao.
All right, Paulo. Ciao.
Okay, I guess everybody's is back in. First of all, thank you very much for joining us and sorry to everyone for causing all this. Oops, it's dropped out again. No, there he is again. For causing all these troubles. Yeah, I guess I don't need to introduce much because everybody knows probably that you flew on STS-124 to deliver TiVo and spend a lot of time on the ISS during Expedition 27 and 28. But since we have some, quite a lot actually, Earth scientists, probably another interesting topic to talk about is the Fragile Oasis that you put into existence. And yeah, so without no further ado, please, I hand over to you.
Oh, okay. Do you want to open up for questions, or I mean, I could tell you the Fragile Oasis story if you want. Is that the way you want? I know this is an unconference, so it's supposed to be completely unstructured, right?
Right,
so.
and that's what we do all day. No, you, please go ahead, talk about anything you like. People just listen, and then afterwards we have room for questions, and I pass on the mic.
Okay, so when I flew on Discovery in 2008, it was an incredible experience, and looking back at the Earth and being in space and being on the space shuttle and the space station, it was just really an incredible experience. And it was a little bit frustrating in a way, though, because I didn't really have a way to share the experience real time. And when I came back from that mission, I was fairly quickly assigned to a long duration mission, and I knew I was going to have almost 6 months on board, and I wanted to have a platform that I could basically share the experience, but not only share the experience, hopefully try and bring people along, not just as spectators, but as fellow crew members, crewmates. And so we started this initiative called Fragile Oasis at fragileoasis.org. And one of the things that we wanted to do through that initiative is to use this perspective we have of this planet, the perspective that we have when we look back at the Earth from space, and to hopefully use that to inspire people to go out to make a difference, to make the world a better place. And when we started, social media really hadn't, it wasn't as prevalent as it is now. And so that was, what we saw was the primary platform. But since then, social media really has taken off, and I'm sure Paulo has spoken about this, and Krista as well, on the just incredible, the enabling qualities that social media has, where we can share things near real time, or in some cases in real time, events that are happening on the Earth. We can share them through pictures. We can interact with people on the ground during the missions, people that we never would have had the opportunity to meet before. And so it's really been a really incredible experience. And so Fragile Oasis has evolved into a platform, a blogging platform. We've got a number of people who are sharing this orbital perspective, both people who have flown in space and people who have not flown in space, because you don't need to be in orbit to have the orbital perspective. And that's one of the big points that we wanted to make with the initiative. It is a work in progress. We're building collaborative platforms into the site itself. And one of the things that it spun off was an initiative called Unity Node. And what Unity Node is attempting to do, it uses the inspiration of the space program, the inspiration of Node 1 on the International Space Station, which was launched to be the central connector of all the other modules and all the lines of communication and all the lines of life, so that provide life support flow through that module. And we wanted to apply that to the Earth. And so one of the things that we're doing is I launched into space with this idea, this belief that we have all the technology, we have all the resources necessary to solve all the problems facing our planet. And so, I spent a good bit of time, thinking about that while I was on board, looking back at the Earth and wondering, if we have all the technology and we have all the resources, why do we still have so many problems? And I think one of the major reasons for that is our inability to collaborate on a global scale. And the International Space Station is a perfect example of what we can do when we collaborate, when we work together to do amazing things. And so Unity Node is attempting to provide a universal open source platform for organizations. We're starting with humanitarian organizations around the world to work together towards their common goals. And so it was a kind of an outshoot of Fragile Oasis. I think it's going to be a really exciting project. We're in the phase right now, which is coalition building. So we're bringing together organizations like the United Nations and the U.S. Agency for International Development, obviously NASA, a lot of corporate involvement as well. So it's really a very, very exciting project and one that I'm looking forward to seeing how it's all going to turn out. So I guess if we want, we could open it up for questions. Or I could just keep blabbing if you want. Cool.
Okay, any questions for Ron? Too excited? we killed you all off. Okay, Daniel.
Hi, my name is Daniel Skook. I'm just wondering, how important is it to have, you mentioned it's kind of a collaboration between those who have flown in space and those who have not. What are some of the things that those who have not flown in space, what are some of the things specifically they're doing to get this platform going?
Well, that's referring to Fragile Oasis. We do have bloggers on board that, or bloggernauts as we call them, that have not flown in space, but they all bring a unique perspective. We have someone named Amanda Linhut, who founded the Global Enrichment Fund, and she was a hostage in Somalia for about 400 days. She was captured there and treated very, very poorly, as you can imagine. And after she was released, she dedicated her life to going back to and trying to solve the problems that Somalia face, and started this organization. And so she has a very, very unique perspective. We have some musicians on board that, through their music are trying to reach out to people and basically share our interconnectedness, to share our shared humanity, to try and inspire people to work together to overcome our challenges. So we have a bunch of people on board that really bring a different, unique perspective to what we're doing. We have some, there's other organizations that share similar goals. Like one, for instance, is Astronomers Without Borders. Their slogan is "One People, One Sky," and so that's perfect. It goes hand in hand with what we're trying to do in Fragile Oasis, and some of the people who are involved with that organization are involved as bloggernauts on Fragile Oasis as well.
Okay.
Hey Ron, thank you for being with us. I'm Marcus Landgraf from MISA. I have a quick question. You spoke of international collaboration. What do you think is the main barrier today? Why are we not collaborating on the same level in other fields than we are in space? And what would be a strategy to overcome that?
Well, I mean, certainly there's a technical aspect of that, and that's one of the things that we're trying to do. What we're trying to do is provide we don't want to build one massive database to rule them all. What we're trying to do is figure out how we can have existing databases, existing social networks talk to each other. And so what we're trying to do is make all of these initiatives, all of these humanitarian initiatives, all of these initiatives for collaboration, we're trying to make them all better. We're trying to connect them together. So, you know, the first, if you really want to provide an open source collaborative platform, the first step to that is to collaborate with all those organizations that are trying to do the same thing. And so that's what we're doing. And so I think, you know, to answer your question, I think that there's a technical aspect of that. I think in the humanitarian sector, there's also a cultural aspect of that. Believe it or not, or maybe many of you might know this, that, you know, the humanitarian sector is a very, very competitive sector. You have organizations that are all vying for the same limited funding, the same limited grants, the same limited investments in the case of social enterprise. And so, you know, I think that there's once we introduce a level of transparency, a level of openness, I think that's going to change everything. And I think as many people also realize, one of the big barriers to collaboration is corruption. And it's unhealthy competition, it's secretive dealings, and it's all those type of counterproductive activities. And, you know, we've always had that, and I think, you know, there's been many different initiatives to try and overcome that. And I think attacking that head on is going to be a very, very difficult problem. So what we're hoping to do through this open, transparent mechanism is to make that obsolete. So in other words, I believe that true, open, transparent collaboration will be an incredible economic engine, and will fuel tremendous economic growth. And those people that are involved with, you know, unhealthy dealing, corruption, all of those things will see themselves being left behind, and they will have to take on a much more collaborative mindset, a much more cooperative mindset, a much more open and transparent and honest mindset in order to keep up with the economic growth that I think open collaboration will provide. So maybe a long answer to a short question, but I think those are some of the barriers that we face, and those are some of the things that we're trying to do to overcome them. So great question.
Okay, just the battery died on our on a traveling microphone. Nick, maybe you want to come to the podium just to ask Ron the question while we get the other microphone.
Hi, Ron. Just on your point about this kind of, without naming names, other organisations who aren't really playing ball. What do you feel? We have a mic. Oh. Just what do you feel about what the Chinese Space Agency are doing right now with their kind of Mercury, Gemini, Apollo trajectory that they seem to be following?
So I think the more people and the more organizations that get into space, I think the better off we're all going to be. I think experiencing space is a transformational experience. And I think, you know, I really hope that, you know, in the next 20 years, flying in space is as commonplace as flying on an airplane. And I think the more organizations, the more corporations, the more government agencies that get involved with space exploration, the better off we're all going to be.
Okay, more questions? Okay, since nobody in the auditorium has one, I have one. You were talking about real-time data sharing and picture sharing and everything from the ISS, and I was wondering, actually, since it's quite a, referred to a costly expedition up there, how many time does, in your case, NASA actually give you to have all the photos and the social media sharing and so on?
Yeah, that's an easy answer, 0. So all the pictures that we take, all the social media outreach that we do is all in our free time. and it's on something called the crew support LAN. And one of the limitations that we have with using that as a communication platform is that it's really just seen as something for the crew, as an entertainment thing for the crew, for psychological support, I guess. And it's not really viewed as a public outreach tool, and that is changing now. I think that we are all realizing just how powerful that is as a communication tool, as a public outreach tool, as an education outreach tool. And so one of the main recommendations that we have been making as crews are coming back is to elevate that to a higher level, to give it more priority, to give it more bandwidth, because it all comes down to what share of the bandwidth we can get in order to do those type of things. So the answer at the moment is 0.
So thank you for taking your spare time to share all the experience with us, because that makes it even more special. Another question.
Hi Ron, it's Space Kate here. I was just wondering, you were talking about how important international cooperation is and what great steps have been taken with the International Space Station in that regard. Do you think we'll ever see an International Space Agency?
International Space Agency, that's a good question. It's good to see you, by the way. Last time I saw you, it was in Florida. Yeah, I think, the answer is I don't know. I think that would be a wonderful thing. I think the bolder the objectives that we're trying to achieve, the more important it is to have true international collaboration. And we operate as a there's been a lot of growing pains in our international coalition, to get the International Space Station built and all the stuff that we've done, and we've really come to the point where I think we're operating as a finely oiled machine. It's really been a wonderful experience to be part of that and to see how everybody is so fully integrated in what we're doing. So the next step to that would be to have an International Space Agency, which, honestly, that's the first time I've ever heard that as a suggestion. I think it's an interesting suggestion, and I'm not sure, if that will come to pass or not. Obviously we'd have to weigh the benefits and the challenges and see how it turns out. But that's a great suggestion.
Okay, thank you. I just got another question relayed to me. If you have any suggestion of what we in Europe could do to spread the word on public outreach and anything that fosters the thought that you put into the Fragile Oasis.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. I'm sorry.
Oh, you didn't hear that? Okay, I try to repeat that. A question has been asked to me: what we in Europe could do to foster more on the public outreach side for ideas like the one you had with Fragile Oasis.
Well, I think one of the things we can do is that, one of the things that we try and encourage everybody to do is to go out and do something to make the world a better place. I mean, that's kind of the whole point of Fragile Oasis. And so we have a mechanism on the site where you could submit projects that you're doing, and we want to, whatever projects they are, we want to help promote that. We want to help support those projects. So I would say become a member of the community, enter the projects that you're doing, let us know about what you're doing, and then let us know how we can help you. And I think, as I said, it's a work in progress, and we're in the process of developing more collaborative tools, more collaborative apps that people can work together. And the idea is that we will bring together people with the same objectives and the same goals, and have them work together and not have duplication of effort, and have greater efficiencies and things like that. And when Unity Node is launched, that Fragile Oasis you could almost view as an app that would be connected to Unity Node, just as many other initiatives would be connected to Unity Node, to try and give it a connection, a connection to the global community is really kind of what the goal is. So and submit ideas for blogs. We'd love to have people telling the stories and writing and helping us, get the word out that we're all riding together through the universe on the spaceship that we call Earth. And if there's blog posts that you want to submit, we'd love to get those as well.
Okay, great. Thank you. So unless there's any other important question, oh, up there.
It's Rob Drysdale. I probably shouldn't ask this in this crowd, but don't you think that the space tourism stuff and everything is counterintuitive towards the fragile oasis and what we're trying to do, because we're going to burn a lot of fuel and resources and everything just to put a bunch of us up in space? And I guess I shouldn't ask that, especially because even I want to go into space. But it is, with the dwindling resources and everything, something we've got to be careful of. Don't you think that's an issue?
Okay, hey Rob, by the way, and if I understood the question, I think you're asking, is the environmental impact of the launches themselves worth sending people into space? Is that the question?
Not with respect to space station and the research and other things that we're doing, like Curiosity and all the other things, but more around the tourism side of things.
Yeah, I don't think, in the big scheme of things, the environmental impact of the launches, even for the tourists or anything else, is. I mean, obviously, we need to make our transportation to space as environmentally friendly as we can, and hopefully we're able to do that. It's not that big of an issue when we have a handful of launches, or certainly not the number of launches that it's going to make any kind of impact that's noticeable. But the more people that we fly, when we start hopefully having an industry in space, and we're having many launches per day, that's obviously going to be something that we think about. In the near term, though, even if we had a fully, very robust space tourism industry, I think that the impact would be well overpowered by the benefit of actually having people experience looking back at our Earth, having that transformational experience of realizing how small our world is, and how fragile our world is, and how interconnected we all are. And so I think that the benefits of that, of having people come back and experience that, I think would greatly outweigh any very minuscule environmental impact that might have. But having said that, then obviously we need to take every step we possibly can to make sure that it's to minimize the environmental impact.
Okay, we got one more question. I'm always standing on the wrong side of the auditorium.
Okay, just a question about your own spaceflight experience. I'm wondering, after you come back from a long-duration mission and you've worked with European or Japanese or Russian astronauts, but you're back in your home countries, you're back doing your own home jobs, do you guys actually keep in touch? Do you guys have time or a chance or opportunity to chat, have a beer, just catch up with each other?
Yeah, every chance we get. So it's good to see Paul and Krista here today, and we spend a lot of time at the different centers, and so it's always like coming home if we're at EAC or in Scuba or in Star City or in Houston. There's always it's a very fraternal organization, very just a very tight-knit group of men and women that have shared this experience, and so it's always good to get together and we kindle old friendships and everything else. So it's a very unique group of people that all share this vision of space exploration and pushing the next pushing over the next hill and seeing what's there, and it's always good to get together.
Okay, I guess we have time for one last question, and I see Christian.
Hi, I'm Christian Lutten from Rotterdam, Gravinaut on Twitter. You got the Fragile Oasis project, so how fragile our little tiny planet Earth is. And it's regularly reported, like when astronauts go to space, they see the tiny little Earth, and then you really get to value our planet. And I think this, I may say only have been in Leo, but I mean the astronauts who went to Apollo and they went to Moon, they saw our Earth even more fragile. Don't you think it's time that we go and explore even further to better understand the value of our little planets? And what would you like to see personally as your next exploration mission beyond Earth, Leo, beyond Moon? Where to go? What's your vision?
So that's a really good question, and you know, let me answer that. I guess the last one first here is what I personally would like to see, and again, I stress personally, is I would like to see us return to the moon, and I would like to see that for a number of reasons. I think there's great justification from. Sorry about that, my phone's ringing. Great justification from a scientific point of view, from a commercial point of view, from an environmental point of view. There's enough energy on the moon to power our planet for centuries, and so there's many different reasons for that. There's also checking out and testing our procedures, our equipment, our technology 3 days away from the planet versus going months away from the planet. But I see that as a step. I see that as a destination in and of itself, a very important destination. But I also see that as a step to go further. And obviously, Mars would be a great place to go. We've talked about asteroids, but the idea is that we just don't want to go places and see what's there and come back. We want to go there to stay. We want to go there to make use of the resources there, etc. And I believe that the farther you talked about Apollo and seeing the whole Earth and seeing how fragile it is from that distance. I think the farther we get away from the Earth, I think the smaller our differences become. I see them. The farther we get away, the more that we seem like one species on one little lifeboat that's hurling through the universe together. And I think the farther we get away, the more perspective we have on that. I think it's a great thing for humanity to strive for. And of course, you have all the other benefits that go along with that exploration, not just the spin-offs, which we could spend many hours talking about, but also the direct, tangible benefits from things like the research that's being conducted aboard the International Space Station. And this is unique research that can't be conducted anywhere else on Earth. It's an incredible investment in our future, and it's an incredible investment in humanity.
Okay, from the reaction of the audience, I think everybody agrees that going to the moon should be the next goal to to follow. Okay, thank you very much for your time.
That's my pleasure.
It really was a great pleasure having you on the first SpaceUp in Europe. Thank you very much.
Oh, it's my honor. It's my honor. Have fun.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, glad that this worked out finally. So now I think the next step is to go